Welcome to the Existential Empath Podcast. My name is Tanya, and I am an intuitive empath. My intention is to share valuable tools and techniques that I have learned so you can tap into your own inner healer naturally and intuitively.
Welcome back, everyone. I have guest Victoria Rader here with me today. Victoria is a possibility coach and founder of You to Shine. She is the author of several books, including her most recent book, Prosper Me, the 35 Universal Laws to Make Money Work for You. Welcome, Victoria. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Tanya, thank you so much for having me. This is just going to be so much fun.
This is going to be a great dialogue today. So we are going to dive into how to manifest anything in the most aligned way. Now, most people want to talk about how to manifest money, and that's exactly where we're going to probably end up going with this. But we can apply all of the tools and techniques that Victoria and I share with you today to pretty much anything, right, Victoria?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that it's important to understand that manifesting money is an interesting thing because the universe does not see money as money, it sees it as energy. And so a lot of people get stuck on that. So we will want to be very clear about what that money is going to be doing for you and manifest that. So we'll just kind of look at the aspect.
Absolutely. And so, what are some of the most limiting subconscious patterns that you see that people hold on to regarding money and how that they can manifest making money in their life?
I think that one of the most limiting things for us as human beings is the assumption that money is the problem. And if not having money is the problem, and we're trying to manifest the solution to the problem by having more money.
Okay.
But what I'm going to say is not only the new way to look at it, but the only way to make it work for you, to make money work for you, is to understand that the lack of money is a symptom of a problem.
Okay.
And you cannot heal the problem by continually addressing the symptom. Not permanently. If you have a flu and you have fever, you can take something that reduces your fever, but you have not healed the body from the virus that had the flu. And so when we don't have money in our life, we think, well, if only I get more money, it'll go away, it'll be solved. And that is the biggest trap by far, because what we find is that it doesn't matter the amount of money, it doesn't solve the problem. 75% of professional athletes that make 30 million or above end up broke 3 years after their retirement.
Interesting.
You can find it with Hollywood stars. You find it with, with businesses. And so things are not what they seem to be. More money is not a solution. And so the first step to always find out is that what is the problem? Because once you find what the problem is and you solve it, the symptom goes away and the money starts becoming a part of your daily reality.
Interesting. You know that old saying, mo money, mo problems, right? So it's like, so what are some common problems that you see that is that deeper underlying issue of why people struggle to manifest money?
Yeah. The first one is the very ancient subconscious belief, I must survive. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful belief that has helped us to survive as species. But if we're continually running on that setting, I must survive, it keeps us in survival. So the shift is very small, right? The shift going from I must survive to I am grateful for having overcome. I'm grateful for having survived. And then instead of saying, now I need to thrive, I need more money, I need more clients, because that is the frequency we're at. And the universe returns and matches the frequency. Oh, you need more money. Sure, here you are. You now need even more money. You need more clients. Here you are. I'm going to take the 3 that you have away. So you really get what you want, which is to need clients. So notice what you notice and notice the pattern of thinking. The first step of manifesting is we manifest what we notice. So notice, do you notice the fact that you don't have something? Because that means you're manifesting lack. Or do you notice with gratitude the presence of what it is that you have now because you manifest abundance? So the first step is awareness. Be very aware of what you're paying attention and how you're paying attention to it, because that is what you're creating more in your life.
Interesting. And so I know when I'm working with clients too, because I do EFT tapping as well. And one of them that comes up often is that deep rooted statement of money is the root of all evil, or, greedy people make lots of money, or those types of things that I recognize that are those deep rooted childhood belief systems around money. So it's like it's pushing that away, because in our subconscious mind, we're thinking that it's bad, when in reality, it's just energy, like you had mentioned. It's something that we attract based off of our energetic frequency of tuning in to that prosperity and abundance that we are all divinely in alignment with. And so let's talk about that word alignment, Victoria, and how important that is when we are manifesting anything in our life. And how do we align to whatever it may be that we want, or that we desire, I guess is a better word, in our lives?
Yeah, I love that, because the path of that manifesting, right? We just to remember it is with A's. You're first aware, then you're aligned, then you take action, and that leads to abundance. And so that alignment is a bridge. And what I hear a lot of people say is that sometimes, and I'm sure you've seen that in your practice, people seek alignment before awareness.
Yes.
And you simply cannot be aligned out of ignorance, because you're aligning with spiritual blindness.
Yes.
And so become aware first. And as you're aware of what it is that you're vibrating at, then you will know how to shift that. And the process of shifting is the process of alignment. So let's say all of a sudden you go like, oh my gosh, that's totally me. I keep looking at my account and thinking I don't have enough. So now you're manifesting the frequency of don't have enough. Mm-hmm. So how do you realign? The shortcut to alignment is the genuine felt gratitude, not necessarily endless lists. I write about it in the Law of Gratitude in my book, not lists that you feel nothing for. I'd rather you be grateful genuinely for one thing over and over again than for 30 things that you're not attached. So we align with the outcome we desire through the heartfelt, highly emotionally charged gratitude. And so there are two steps to it. First, when you find yourself in a place of lack, let's say you're looking at your money and says there's, the end of the money comes before the end of the month. That's the reality. You want to know where you are. That's just reality check. And then you're going to say, but wait a minute, I am still here. I've survived so far. I'm grateful for that. And now I'm going to look at what every dollar that has come into my life, at the miracle that it has become in my life. Like genuinely, deeply look into that frequency of how grateful you are for every dollar in your life. And when you celebrate every dollar, it multiplies, speaking of money. Now, how do you manifest out of that place of alignment? This is step by step. I've had hundreds of people that have helped manifest practical things, material things, relationships. You pick it. If you skip the steps, you will get the results that are mediocre. If you follow the steps as I outline them for you, you will get phenomenal results. It can be no other way, right? Because that's the law. That's the universal law. So we'll do the steps. Yes, ready for the steps?
Yes, ready for the steps. That was my next question.
Okay. So the steps of alignment into manifesting are very straightforward. You first decide, let's say if you say money, I want money, decide what would you use it on? Because we're going to manifest that. We don't manifest for more money. We manifest for what money would buy. Always.
Okay.
Always.
Because money's kind of the middleman, right? It's that
money is the energy, delivery. Money is the energy of delivery, and money is the magnifier of who we are. Okay. And so it delivers to the world who we are, and it delivers back to us more of who we are. That's what all money does. It's a magnifier. It's a great magnifier. So if you have somebody who is a greedy person, and we see them being magnified, and that's where all those, programs are born about money being evil. Good people with money are usually people that are humble. that are serving the world, so we don't hear about them.
Absolutely.
Because they're not there to get the, the recognition. So let's say, how about a soulmate? Soulmate is a big thing. How about manifesting a soulmate? So the first step for anything is to write a list of 50 qualities of your manifestation.
Okay.
50.
Okay.
So I will use the soulmate as an example, but you can do it for an apartment. It doesn't matter. So for soulmate, you're going to outline 50 qualities. And I tell people, make sure that you don't leave the obvious behind. What is your orientation? You want that to be on one of the 50.
Okay.
Because I've had really great stories of clients having done that and going on a date and being like, perfect, just likes different type of people, than me. It's just everything was perfect. A lot of
very literal.
Very literal. A lot of us, especially women, I'm going to offer it to the audience if they choose to accept it. A lot of the women don't know what it feels like to be the only woman.
Yeah.
Historically, we carry what it feels like to be a secondary woman, another woman, other woman, you name it. We carry so many of these programs. So you want to put there that as one of the qualities that is able to appreciate you as the only woman in their life. I'm sure it works for men as well, but I've seen this pattern much more with women. Many more women do not carry that feeling of, I know what it feels like to be the only significant woman in someone's life.
Interesting.
So
when you're writing
and that gets
yeah, that's fascinating. When you're writing out these qualities, how are you writing them out? I am the only woman, or how are you phrasing it when you're writing it out?
As the qualities that the person possesses. So let's say you want them to be smart, capable and so forth. But for that one, that they're capable of treating you, you will really write capable of seeing me and honoring me, cherishing me as the only woman in their life.
Okay.
Because that's who they are, right? They honor you. And then all of those qualities, so you write those. You wrote 50 minimum. If you start writing more comes, great. Then before you go to bed every night until your manifestations happened, you're going to pick one of them from the list. And you're going to create a visual meaning for your conscious and subconscious mind of what it is. Let's say you have kind. We want the person to be kind. What does it mean to you? I can tell you what it means to me. It means that if I come home tired, my husband rubs my feet.
Yeah.
That's just kind. And so I will have that image of kindness as somebody rubbing my feet. And I will go, you've got to go into that feeling, into that image, to the point of feeling this immense joy of it being in your life. You want that image and that feeling to transition into you drifting to sleep. Please understand that the last image, feeling, concern that we have before we drift to sleep is coded into our subconscious for 4 hours of programming. So while we're sleeping, our subconscious mind creates for us a reality of the last imprint that we've done. So we want to use that to our advantage. So we're going to drift to sleep with a smile on our face of that vision. That's alignment.
Okay.
Now, when we wake up the next morning, we want to take the action with the alignment. And we're going to say, wait a minute, if I want that feeling, I need to send that feeling out into the universe. If I want to be the only one today, every person I come in contact with, I'm going to treat them at the moment of exchange with them as if they're the most important person in my life. It's an amazing process. Within 50 days, you will have shifted to the frequency of a human being that deserves a soul partnership that you're now ready to attract. And within the next 50, that soul partnership will be created.
Wow. So Victoria, every night then, do you choose a different one on your list? So you don't do the same one for 50 days. You choose a different one. Okay.
Yes. You want to go through all of them, but you never want to violate your intuition, right? I always say the worst thing we can ever do is have a general rule for specificity of who we are. So ideally, yes, go through that. But if you hold that list and we're all such intuitive human beings. And one of them stands out and is asking for your attention. It doesn't matter if it asks for it every 3 days. It means you got to do it. So trust it. Trust yourself over trusting anybody.
So how do you recognize the signs that your manifestation is actually coming into your physical reality?
You don't worry about the results. The second you are looking for signs or results of it happening, we seek proof at a place of doubt.
Okay.
And so, we just trust fully. We're so busy creating it that all of a sudden, and that's how people say, all of a sudden it happened. Well, it hasn't happened all of a sudden. It has happened over the faithful, tedious process, but it will feel as if it happened all of a sudden. Why? Because you're so into the process of manifesting. So it works for everything, whether it is, like I said, whether it is a car but the important thing is, as you manifest for those emotional energies to act the following day in a physical reality, because alignment without action leads to delusion, not to abundance.
Yeah, and you want to act as if. So it's like if you're seeking kindness, then you act kind, and that will attract more kindness into your life. And yeah, so it's specific to 50 days. Is that seems to be the key number?
For some people, they've done it much sooner, and it's not because there is an attachment to the date because they've been doing work up till now. But 50 days is usually enough to break the patterns in our brain to have created the new receptors.
Okay.
Because they say it takes 21 days to form the habit. I find that it takes much longer than that. And so 50 days is doing twice 21 day. And then there's this beautiful 8 day, and number 8, of course, is a beautiful formation. So, but if you have more qualities, you will want to continue and just trusting that it'll happen just at the right time.
Okay.
Mostly because you are learning about this process, because you're probably on that, verge of, and what is manifesting? What is manifestation? It's becoming aware of what's right in front of you. So it's not that person would not have been there otherwise. It's just that otherwise you would not have had the capacity to have recognized them. So that's what manifesting is. The opportunities for us, for anything and everything, are present. We're just not fully capable of seeing them. So the process of manifesting is increasing our ability to see what is. It's not creating what isn't. It's increasing our awareness to see, to claim, and to receive what already is.
Because it's already there. It's already in that vortex, so to speak, right? It's just attracting it into our physical reality, because it's all there for the pickings. It's just really lining with it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what are the steps to shifting our mindset from, say someone is in that pattern of I'm broke, I have lack, I have whatever the lack may be. If it's money, if it's lack of love, if it's lack of, it could be anything. How do we shift our mindset from feeling that sense of lack into a sense of prosperity?
I had a very interesting period in my life where I got to be coached by Bob Proctor. He was, a person in secret. He died in February. Actually died on my anniversary, and I was recording a podcast talking about him when he died.
Oh, wow.
Bizarre. But I was very impacted by Bob's teaching, and there was, however, one point where he and I disagreed. And Bob's teaching of manifesting was, you have to be 100% committed to whatever it is you're manifesting and not allow for your energy to waver. I think a lot of people who buy into that become so discouraged because being human beings, maintaining the 100% is virtually unachievable, right? And so, and what I see a lot of people go like, forget it. I mean, it's just not for me. I'm just going to do with what I got to do. But having taught statistics, I've taught a lot of things in my life. And so I tell people I'm a possibility coach, but really it's all about increasing the probability of your possibilities. It's what I do all day long. It's all possible. It's just not probable right now, So that's, and so the probability is gorgeous and it works in our favor because the universe recognizes the dominant frequency. And I have chills as I say that. Dominant means 51%. It's just so
just
hopeful
a little bit
to
over.
me. It's just so hopeful to me. And so what happens then, instead of numbing our fearful self, our scared self, instead of getting upset at our doubts, we can send them the one thing they need, or the two things they need: acceptance through love. Acceptance and love. And so that first step of awareness, of mind shift, when you hear yourself say, often we don't hear our negative thinking. Why? Because we're so afraid to hear it, because we think there's no way out of it. So we're creating something that is inaccessible to us through our own self-judgment. So knowing, hey, 51%, it's okay if I am angry at something. If I feel it's unfair, I can go to that part and say, I got you. I hear you. And there is a better way. And there is a better way. So that bridge of, I got you, I hear you, and there is a better way. And instead of affirming first, you have come to believe that life is unfair, affirming right away, life is fair, is going to rub you wrong. You're going to be beating yourself on the heart. Life is fair, life is fair. But deep voice inside will be like,
no, it's
not. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And so the first thing you want to do is introduce the possibility in your affirmation. It's possible that life could be more fair to me.
Okay.
It's huge.
And that's like a bridge word. That's a bridge word to help bridge you to life is
and
fair.
It's for me. Yes, not only possible, but adding for me. It's possible to have a better place for me to live, because your brain says, yeah, it's possible. When you feel comfortable with that, you're going to ask a question. Great. How do I make it more probable? What is the one thing I can do today to make this possibility my reality? Because the universe will always answer the questions we ask. So first you bridge to, you hear yourself say, I don't know how I'm going to make this work. Great, you heard yourself. Congratulations, means you love yourself enough to hear your negative talk. So you got to say, I got you. I got you. Tell you what, I think it's possible for you to make it. And then you say, you know what, it's possible for me to make it. And not only it's possible for me to make it, but it's possible for me to survive and to start succeeding. It's really possible. And then you're going to say, great, what is the one thing I can do today to help me make it, whatever that is, right? And then you're going to pause and allow for the answer to come in, and commit only to 3 minutes of doing it. A lot of people overcommit and under-deliver and go back into self-denial and self-punishment. 3 minutes. If you got an answer, well, you just need to get a whole other degree. You don't need to get it today. You're going to say, okay, for 3 minutes, I'm going to look at what online programs are there. 3 minutes is up. I've done one thing. So yeah.
You're like, what action can I take to make that a possibility in my life? And even if it's something small, and I tell people that all the time. I think we get caught in our heads that we have to do this huge leap, right? And it's just baby steps. And I think by saying, what is possible in my life, it's like that baby step. And then you get comfortable with that. Okay, well, now what's possible? What's next, that can be possible for me in my life. And Victoria, I was, watching your Instagram page, and you had talked about the difference between value and a deal. And I want you to talk about that, because I really resonated with that, because many of us, when I'm working with people, there's always this little underlying piece of unworthiness, and that they don't feel valued. And this will bleed out into every area in their life, whether it's in relationships or in their financial, life, or whatever it may be. So let's talk about the importance of value and how that really ties into almost every aspect in our lives.
The law of value is one of the 35 universal laws. It's in my book, Prosper Me, the 35 universal laws to make money work for you. The law of value is one of the laws. And I write there about my grandma. I grew up in Ukraine, and my grandma, after World War II, she lost her first husband, and in World War One, well, no, in the Winter War in 1939, and so she married after World War II to my grandpa, had 4 more children, 5 children altogether. My grandpa was so disillusioned by what he lost his soldiers' lives for, being a commander, seeing what the Soviet regime was doing. He actually never drank. He started drinking and literally just kind of went, became disillusioned, discouraged. And my grandma ended up working 3, 4 jobs to support her 5 girls, 4 girls and a son. And just, she had moments where she would be crossing the field to go from one job to another, and she would pass out from lack of sleep and nutrition. She'd stay in the field for a while until she would come to, and she'd get up and continue going. So it's coming from this woman that the teaching on value came from. When I was a little girl, I spent summers with my grandparents, and my grandma would say, "We're not rich enough to buy cheap things."
Okay.
There is such a phenomenal wisdom in that, because she would always say, rich people can't afford to be wasteful. We cannot afford to be wasteful. We need to pay money for value. And so she would always seek something of superb quality, and she would put pennies together, and she would, or kopekas, I guess, and she would buy the best value she could afford. And that also supported internally the fact that we were deserving. So we were not rich, but we were taught to be wealthy.
Interesting.
And I think what's happening in the world right now, people confused the two. See, being rich is spending a lot of money and throwing money around to impress people we don't know, to buy things we don't need.
On
Being
frivolous
rich.
things.
Yeah, being wealthy is appreciating the value in your life without needing to impress anybody, and allowing for the financial value to grow as your spiritual value is completely detached from it and continues to fill the measure of your creation. We've all come with a very unique value proposition of being who we've come to be. And when we step into the growing the spiritual value, detached from the need of proving it with money value, both grow. If we confuse the bridge, both dilapidate.
Interesting. And it's funny you say that, because my friends would joke with me, because I would say I'd rather spend money on one organic apple than a bag of non-organic apples, right? Or just as an example. And they would joke with me, and I'm like, but it's the value behind it, because for me, it was the taste. I could tell the difference between that pure apple versus, something that wasn't as high quality. And I have always led that way in my life. It's like, I'd rather, I may have $50 and I'd rather spend it on a few items that are of value versus be like, oh, I got 50 items that, maybe some I'll use and some will break, and I won't enjoy that. So I loved that. I really resonated with what you had said about that. And you would think, when you first started your story, that your grandmother was working all of these jobs, you would think that she would be pinching pennies and really, finding things that she could just, a little bit here and a little bit there, but really seeing the value. And my grandmother was the same way. It was like, she didn't have a lot, but some of her appliances in her home, because she was 93, she just passed away a few years ago, but some of her appliances are still going strong. And some of the things that she had in her home had such value to them. And now they're being passed down, to us and our family. And so these are things that are over 50 years old, that we have lost that as a society. Is we look at something as a deal, we got a good deal on that versus we got a good value on that. And that is such a different frequency.
It is. It is. And so as you put the process together, you start recognizing what you already have right now and start investing into great value you're sending you're sending the abundance, the genuine abundance signal, and it's practical, it's common sense. And I wanted to go back to something you said, because I've tried to push it off after that first comment, but it is asking to come through. And that is, you've mentioned so beautifully that people are so ready to make that big leap and they don't do the small steps sometimes. And, I write about the law of Kaizen way. And I write about Kaizen way is a Japanese way of growth, which is in very teeny tiny, small incremental steps. But so I have PhD in metaphysics. I took it to understand how the universe works with spirituality and quantum physics. Mm-hmm. That's it, just for me, But one thing that I've learned there was the quantum physics principle of quantum leap. A lot of people talk about quantum leap without understanding what they're talking about. They see it as immense jump, from one place to the other. You just leaped. But what quantum leap is actually the result of this Kaizen way. The little electron keeps going around the nucleus, around the proton, right? And it keeps going around. It's very steady. It keeps moving. And then at some point, light, the photon of light, is introduced into that system. And because the electron is already moving and the light comes in, it goes to the next shell. And that is appearing as a quantum leap because it leaps to a whole new level. But the way it leaps to a whole new level are two things: consistent, tedious, sometimes boring movement, and the introduction of light. So when we are preparing for the quantum leap, we got to be moving. We got to be doing the tedious things that sometimes are like, oh my gosh, how much longer? And then we need to seek for the presence of light, for something that is uplifting, for something that is bright. Like, and I love your gorgeous background because that's setting you up for a quantum leap, right? Good. So I think for some reason, I think that needed to come through to give fullness to this conversation, is that we all want a miracle and we all are a part of it, but we've got to be using universal laws. Keep going and let the light in, and that'll carry you to the next level.
I love that, Victoria, because I think a lot of us, when we start learning about the law of attraction, we think we can just sit back and think about it and it's just going to drop into our lap. I mean, I fell for that too, but then I understood that there needs to be some inspired action there and then some consistency to keep the momentum going. So that way your subconscious starts to get programmed that, hey, this is the reality now. And so I think we get caught up in that, I'm manifesting and it's not here yet, but are we taking that inspired action and are we doing that consistent action, and it doesn't have to be huge. It's just those little things, and I think that's where, like you said, writing things down is so important as well, because it's taking things out of our mind and then we're actually using our physical hand to write things down. And that's so important because it's almost like really scribing it, into our energetic field that, hey, this is what we are attracting and this is what we desire in our life. So let's talk about your book. Let's talk about some of the things that you cover in your book, and where can people find your book?
So the most recent book, Prosper Me, was really inspired, I think. I was writing an absolutely different book and I was stopped in the middle of it and was recalculated because I already had a program, recorded program on the money laws. And in our app, I have an amazing app, by the way. Probably should talk about the app more, but in our app, we already had that money set. So the book was kind of completely guided experience for me. It was like, you gotta get it out. And of course, it was published just as we entered inflation and recession. I'm like, oh, okay, I got you. I will pay. I'm like, because I promised you, I'm writing and going like, oh my gosh, come on now. I mean, I know this stuff. I've taught this stuff for 20 years. It's not,
That's some divine
but
timing.
I'm following, And so I think it's very important for all of us to understand is that following divine guidance does not always have to be with a smile. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're just following it, and it's okay if you're kind of like a little bit on your way or whatever. So the book was really guided. And now I'm humbled to understand that it is a small yet significant key for someone. And we've been almost a year into recession. We're going deeper into it. And I don't, I think we're going to be in
We're
this
the eye of the
plateau
storm.
for a while, because we've had too many artificial ways to preserve economy that now have come to. Yeah. And so that's pretty much what the book is. It's 35 universal laws. They're universal because you can apply them to everything in your life. But I use to apply them to practical money steps. So I describe a spiritual law and then the practical financial application of that law. I give you 3 steps that you can start applying right away, and also an energy activation, which is an affirmation that is charged with the energy of subconscious shift. So as you read it, as you say it, your subconscious assumes the new programming and the change, and then you take a practical step. So it's the 35 aspects towards your way of prosperity. If there could be fewer of them, the book would be shorter, but that is how it was written. So, I tell people often, without being overwhelmed, the best way to start is we actually created this quiz. It's you can find it on moneyquiz.me, because me is very big for me as the name and as the title. So moneyquiz.me, if you take that free quiz, it's going to tell you which emotion is your money healing mode and how to start through that emotion with the first 3 laws. So it's your kind of individualized way to start on that journey. And once your subconscious mind has done the 3 laws, you get to say, you know what? I'm doing this, because you will have experienced small miracles. You will. It's just when you do 3, you will have your first miracle of validation. And then you get to say, you know what? It doesn't matter whether it takes a month or a year. I'm going to get through all of these.
That's really neat. And I think too, the number 35, I think in numerology a lot, 3 + 5 is 8 and 8 is infinity. So there was probably a reason it was 35, when you got to that point. So that's really neat. So where can people find your book? Is it on Amazon?
Website. Okay. You can get an Amazon website, and it's actually in all the retailer stores. My understanding is it's kind of everywhere. I have clients text me from Borders, from Target.
That's awesome.
So I think it's everywhere, and it's Prosper Me with little M Biggie.
Awesome. So Victoria, how can people reach out to you if they, want to contact you, if they want to learn more? Where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, it's Vika_Rader, VICA_ADER, if somebody is an Instagram user. And always through the website, YU2shine.com, you2shine.com. Always. Awesome. I always get back with you.
That's great. Well, Victoria, I love your energy. I really I enjoyed this conversation today, and I really know that it provided value for not only me, but for my listeners as well, and as well as your listeners who are tuning in to this podcast today. So I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful that you took the time today to spend with me and to just share your knowledge and wisdom of everything that you've learned throughout this process, and understanding a little bit more about manifestation and how we attract things by utilizing the universal laws. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
I love it, Tonya. And I feel very strongly to validate right back at you, because at some point in my life, I had a podcast. I did 1 season, loved it. But I got to tell you, it is so much work and devotion. And so I honor you. I want every one of your listeners to know the heart, the love, the energy, the effort you're putting in. And it is coming from a place of contribution and giving and service. And so I'm very grateful and honored to be your guest, and just wanted to thank you for creating a platform for people like me to come and share. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Victoria.
You deserve to navigate your life as an empath in alignment with health, happiness, and abundance. To learn more about the services that I provide, including Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis, EFT Tapping, and the Emotion Code, visit my website at www.thesoulcafe.org.